Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dr. K's Lecturecast in Anatomy. Now we are going to continue with the parotid gland part 2. In this, we will discuss about the parotid duct and then the blood supply, nerve supply of the parotid gland and few applied aspect. Along with that, I have added few OSPE questions or practical based questions which will be of some use for your practical examination. So let's get into the topic. First is about the parotid duct. So a duct is nothing but a tube-like structure. So what is the function of parotid duct? We all know the parotid gland secretes saliva. So to carry it and transport it and to reach the destined part, that is the oral cavity, the mucosa of the oral cavity, we need this parotid duct. It is otherwise called as the Stenson's duct. It is 5 centimeter long, and when we read about the relations of the anterior border of the parotid gland, we saw the branches of facial nerve emerging, we saw the transverse facial artery, and here is the parotid duct. So the situation, how can you say? You can say the parotid duct emerges from the middle. Can you see approximately middle of the anterior border of the parotid gland? Now it is very easy to talk about the relations of the parotid duct. With the same picture, can we see here superior and inferior relation? Superiorly, you can say transverse facial artery, upper buccal branch of the facial nerve, and sometimes there is an accessory parotid gland here. And inferiorly, lower buccal branch of the facial nerve. So these are the relations of the parotid duct. Next is, where does it open? So the duct starts from the anterior border. We saw about that. What is the course of the duct and opening? I have just simplified the important points which is related to the course of the parotid duct and the opening. So at the anterior border of the masseter, can you see this is the masseter muscle? This anterior border, it turns medially, means inwards towards the midline and pierces. Please remember the structures pierced by the parotid duct. You will get to know why I am telling this later in this presentation. So what are the structures it pierces? It pierces everything related to buccal. Buccal means cheek. Remember that. So buccal pad of fat. And then a fascia. Fat stands for F. Remember like that. And then the fascia. So there is a buccinator muscle, a main muscle, the whistling muscle of the muscles of facial expression, the buccinator, and then the mucosa covering the cheek. So we call that as buccal mucosa. So can we repeat it again? Buccal pad of fat, buccopharyngeal fascia, buccinator, buccal mucosa, and then finally it opens into the vestibule. What is vestibule? So vestibule is nothing but in the morning you brush your teeth, right? So when you put the toothbrush inside your mouth and slide in the sideways of the mouth, there is a depression where your toothbrush runs. So that is the vestibule of the mouth. So vestibule, exactly where it opens? It opens opposite to the crown of upper second molar tooth. So can you see here the premolars, first molar, second molar. So opposite to this crown in the vestibule. Either you write upper second maxillary molar or write upper second molar tooth. Sometimes students they get so much confused, so that they write upper maxillary second molar. Either mention maxillary or mention upper second molar tooth. So what happens since there is this duct communicates with the oral cavity? You have seen in all the advertisements, every infection starts from the mouth. So infection from the oral cavity can pass through the parotid duct and cause parotid abscess, that is infectious fluid getting accumulated in the parotid gland region, something called as Fraze syndrome. Syndrome means a combination of many symptoms. Is what we say. So here, post parotidectomy, if in case there is any surgery involving removal of parotid gland or any surgery involving the parotid gland, we know the auricular temporal nerve carries the secretion sensory innervation for the parotid gland, and the skin over the parotid gland, the fascia, is supplied by great auricular nerve. So this is for the sensation to the skin, and this is related to salivation. So whenever a person chews food, saliva will be secreted, and since there is regeneration of the secretomotor fibers along with the great auricular nerve, This nerve is also stimulated while salivation. So what happens? That causes redness and sweating over the skin supplied by the great auricular nerve. So that condition we call as the Fraze syndrome, which is otherwise called as the auriculotemporal syndrome. The mixing of secretomotor fibers and the innervation of the great auricular nerve over the skin of the parotid gland get mixed up. So whenever there is salivation, there is also redness and sweating over the skin. Parotid gland blood supply. Will you be able to say what could be the blood supply of the parotid gland? Any guess? We can easily say because we saw the structures within the parotid gland, glandular tissue. What structures we saw? We saw one vein and we saw one artery. We saw external carotid artery and we saw one vein, retromandibular vein. So let's add one more here. Maxillary artery and superficial temporal artery are considered to be the terminal branches. So if you don't remember anything, just remember and recollect to write branches from external carotid artery, and retromandibular vein drains the parotid gland, and finally it goes and forms the external jugular vein when the posterior division of retromandibular vein joins the posterior auricular vein. So just mention blood supply is by the branches from the external carotid artery and venous drainage is by the retromandibular vein, and if you remember you can also write external jugular vein. Lymph nodes, the parotid gland has superficial and deep parotid nodes which drain the parotid gland. Now coming to the nerve supply. Whenever you read about a gland that secretes, so you should have a secretomotor supply. The gland should receive sensation for the skin covering the gland, and there should be rich blood supply supplying the gland, that is the vasculature. All the blood vessels also receive nerve supply. So three types: vasomotor, secretomotor, sensory. Vasomotor for to supply all the blood vessels which are supplying that region, and then secretomotor. What is the function of this parotid gland? To secrete saliva. To secrete saliva we need a secretomotor pathway, and then we need sensory to innervate the fascia and the skin covering the parotid region. So coming here, can you see the sympathetic pathway? Sympathetic is always vasomotor. Vaso means blood vessels. Motor means contract the blood vessels. How the blood vessels are contracted? Any idea? When you read the histology of the blood vessels, there will be the blood vessels will be lined by smooth muscle fibers. So the smooth muscle fibers contracts to pump the blood. So for the muscles to contract, you need nerve supply. So that is taken care by the sympathetic nerve fibers surrounding the middle meningeal artery. Now how will you remember middle meningeal artery? Middle meningeal artery is looped by two nerve roots of the auriculotemporal nerve. So remember, auriculotemporal nerve and middle meningeal artery are very close friends. So see here, sympathetic or vasomotor is derived from the plexus around the middle meningeal artery, and sensory comes from the auriculotemporal nerve to supply the gland, and fascia, as I told you in Fraze syndrome, the fascia is supplied by the great auricular nerve. Coming to the secretomotor pathway, remember a relay here, like how it happens in an athlete. Someone carries the torch from the initial point and it gets passed on to other people of the team, and finally it reaches the goal. That is what is going to happen here. So let's trace out. So a message comes from the brain to secrete saliva. From where does the message comes? Inferior salivatory nucleus in the medulla. So one person started carrying it, which is the glossopharyngeal nerve. It is the senior most. So it is sending a message to the of secreting saliva to the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve, which forms a plexus, a network. From this network, a person starts, which is the lesser petrosal nerve. And there is a station here. Where? What station is that? This is the otic ganglion. Ganglion are very niche in nerve cell bodies. So Just remember, if the lesser petrosal nerves get tired of carrying, so it comes to the aortic ganglion, gets refreshed and takes rest, and from here one more messenger starts, which is the auriculotemporal nerve. The torch or the message to secrete saliva is carried from one person, followed, that is the inferior salivatory nucleus, glossopharyngeal nerve, tympanic branch, tympanic plexus, lesser petrosal nerve. Till here it is considered to be preganglionic, till they relay in the aortic ganglion. From here they are called as postganglionic fibers, which through the auriculotemporal nerve reaches the parotid gland and thereby saliva secretes. Coming to the histology. Okay, the gland secretes saliva. How does the saliva is pumped from the gland to the parotid duct? So there will be something called a serous acini, the secretory part, which are lined by serous cells. We all know parotid gland has both mucous acini and serous acini, but predominantly it is made up of serous acini. So there are different type of granules, that is the serous acini and mucous acini differ in few functions and histological aspect. We'll discuss in the next slide. And myoepithelial. Now can you understand? There is a epithelial cell, muscular epithelial cell, kind of myoepithelial cell. So when they contract, they push the saliva from the serous acini into the interlobular ducts, and finally they all join to form the parotid duct. So the duct scenes are the intercalated ducts, striated ducts, and the excretory duct, helping in the saliva to get transported to the mucosa of the oral cavity. So whenever we talk about parotid gland histology, mention about serous acini, mention about myoepithelial cells, mention about these ducts, and also the zymogen granules and the lumen. So this is a microscopic features shown. Serous acini, you can see the round central nucleus, the striated duct, interlobular septum. All the glands are thrown into lobes. So in between the lobes, septa means wall. So interlobular septum, intercalated duct, and the interlobular duct between the lobules. You should understand the difference between the serous acini and mucous acini just for your knowledge. So serous acini, can you see here? Pyramidal, and this is little flattened. Nucleus, when you see, it is round, and in the center this is flattened, and in the periphery thin watery secretion. This is thick viscous, darkly stained, and this is mucous acini is lightly stained. Main function is enzymatic, also protection and lubrication is there. This mucous acini main function is protection and lubrication. So coming to the OSPE, what can be asked? This parotid duct can be ligated. Two main questions to be asked here is identify the ligated structure, and first sub question will be where does it open? It opens into the crown opposite to the crown of the second maxillary molar or second upper molar. And what are all the structures it pierces? All buccal pad of fat, buccopharyngeal fascia, buccinator, and buccal mucosa or the cheek mucosa. And if the gland is pinned, you might be asked secretomotor pathway, blood supply. If blood supply is asked, please write both arterial supply and venous drainage. So few questions here. When the gland is pinned, you have to identify what structure is that. Secretomotor pathway, at least remember and write inferior salivatory nucleus, glossopharyngeal nerve, aortic ganglion, and auriculotemporal nerve. At least few important members who carry the relay. Blood supply and structures emerging at the anterior border, you should be, if in case they pin the gland, you can see anterior border, you can see parotid gland emerging out along with 5 branches of the facial nerve. In the upcoming lectures, I'll try to upload few more specimens for exclusively OSPE and practical based questions. And when the parotid duct is tied, you have to identify the tied structure. What are all the structures the duct pierces before it opens and where does it open? Kindly take this presentations and lectures of mine to have a quick review of all these topics, and it's not intended as a guide for any treatments or clinical intervention. If you like my presentation and lecture, give a thumbs up and share it among with your friends if in case you find it useful, and also subscribe to my channel so that you'll get notifications whenever I upload any new videos. Thank you all. We'll see you in another lecture. Maybe it will be some other salivary gland. Keep guessing what it could be. Thank you and have a great day.